Hello everyone, welcome to IAS Baba's 60 days rapid revision series for Prelims 2022. This is day 7. So here we are taking up geography. Friends, geography means first comes the map work and second comes the concepts. So if we are thorough with these two, so but obvious out of say 12 geography questions, some 8 we can attempt. So do as much as possible these things, and facts anyway they will be facts. If you know it, they will be easy. If you don't know, they will be difficult. So here are some of the concepts and map works that are associated here, and we take up the first one, that is the type of seismic waves. So here we have learned that the longitudinal wave and the transverse wave. So before moving, we will just discuss what is a longitudinal wave. Say for example, I make people stand in row like this and they are not connected to each other. So now if I hit a person from this direction, he will go and hit the other person, and likewise the energy will be transferred. So here the movement is also from left to right and the propagation of wave is also from left to right. And here what is required is the elasticity. So here the medium between these two persons is the air medium. Okay, so here air will not be having so much of elasticity. So there are chances of this person not hitting the front one. And coming to next one, the transverse waves. For transverse waves, if I made people to stand farther and if I shake him from front to back, so there are least chances of him propagating a wave or an energy to the next person, because he will move and he will stop. But if I connect them, so if I ask them to hold each other's hands and now if I shake him, so but obvious he will propagate and the wave goes this way. So this is a transverse wave, and this requires not elasticity, it requires a shear stress. Okay, so shear means you take a rubber. Okay, so this is elasticity, that is front and back force, but shear stress is this one. Okay, so sidewise, so that stress is required for a transverse wave. So in that direction we will discuss the primary waves. So they are the fastest and they are recorded first on the seismograph, and then P waves are the longitudinal waves and they can travel in all mediums. Okay, so because for them only elasticity is required and their velocity depends on elasticity of the medium. So more the elasticity, so faster, lesser, so lesser is the speed as well. Then hence the velocity of P waves is greatest in solid, and then medium in liquid and small in gases. So solids have high elasticity. It is difficult to compress a solid. So likewise, and sound wave is also a longitudinal wave, and we know that sound wave will not propagate in vacuum because there is no elasticity. So we will learn those things. Then coming to next, secondary waves. So these are the transverse waves and they are also called shear waves because they travel through the shear stress. So as I said, the transverse waves, so they move in the perpendicular direction of the motion of particles. So your ripples, whenever you have ripple on water, so all those are the transverse waves. So these are the second ones. And S waves cannot pass through fluids. Okay, so they can only pass through the solids, because solids, the molecules are connected to each other, but in the liquids they are far enough. So when they are far enough, I cannot move him and I cannot propagate the wave like this. Okay, so that is why they cannot pass through the fluids. So air, liquids, so no possibility of transferring of this S wave. Okay, so remember these transverse waves and longitudinal waves, and basically P and S waves. And then came the body waves. So body waves interact with the surface rocks and generate new set of waves called the surface waves. So these are the surface waves or the L waves. So it is like only upon the surface it moves. Say for example, I have taken a slab like this. Okay, so in this only on the surface the wave moves. Okay, these waves move only along the surface and they are low frequency transverse waves. So they are also transverse waves, but the frequency is not that great. Okay, then coming to next one. So here we have some of the figures. So here we can see the elasticity, and here we can see the shear stress, and here we can see the surface waves that are going like this. Okay, so these are some of the waves which we understand with the concepts. Then come to next, the largest and the deepest lakes. So I have some of the facts, because the Baikal lake and all those, they have already appeared in the UPSC prelims. So we discuss all these. So the Lake Baikal, that is the deepest lake located in Siberia, Russia, and it is the deepest in the world, and it is the world's largest lake by volume. So the volume of water it holds, that is largest and second longest. So if you measure from north to south or from east to west, so either of these, so it will be the second longest. Okay, so here apart from that we have some of the lakes the Great Bear Lakes, and then the Great Slave Lake, and here we have the Great Lakes area, that is the Lake Horion, Michigan, Ontario, Superior, so all those, Erie, and then Lake Nicaragua is here, and then Lake Maracaibo, Lake Titicaca, then Lake Chad with the Chad Nation, Lake Victoria, Malawi, Tanganyika, and Lake Baikal, Caspian Sea and Aral Sea. So friends, here Caspian Sea, Aral Sea, they will also become important in the wake of Ukraine conflict. So we remember that. So whichever are in the current affairs, so we go in detail with them, and others we just give a footnote reference. And Lake Baikal comes here, Kingai Lake, then Tonle, then Lake Toba, and then Lake Erie again. So this Erie is different, this Erie is different. Then come to next one, Lake Tanganyika. This is the longest lake in the world, and it is also the second largest by volume. So relate it with the Baikal, and it is the second deepest lake in the world after Lake Baikal. So this is the second deepest compared to from the surface of water to the depth it goes. Then world's highest and the lowest lakes. So highest and the lowest means the altitude in which they are situated. So one lake can be on a Deccan Plateau, one lake can be on Himalayas. So that will be in greater heights compared to others. The highest large lake in the world is the Pumyongtso or the Pumyongtso, that is the Pumyongtso. So anyhow we can pronounce. And then the world's highest commercially navigable lake is the Lake Titicaca in Peru. Okay, so in Peru and Bolivia border it is situated. Then the world's lowest lake is Dead Sea. So this is in the very small altitude, so might be on the sea level. Okay, so it is situated. So it is in the Israel-Jordan border. So we will mark this also because Israel-Palestine conflict is also going on. So we had got one question on Jordan. So which of the following is a landlocked country? So such questions will be associated with this. Okay, then coming next, the lavas. So we have different types of lavas, that is exhalative lava, effusive, explosive and subaqueous. So questions haven't come on this, but at the same time we cannot neglect these also. At any point of time questions might come again. So we give a brief revision and move on. So exhalative or exhalative volcanism. So this discharges material in gaseous forms such as steam and fumes, and this indicates the volcano is reaching its extinction. So whenever the volcano slows down, so at that point of time exhalative volcanism occurs. And associated landforms are sinter mounds, cones and minerals and mud volcanoes. So here we have the sinter mound. So this is how the cones are being formed. So here basically like whenever the volcano is coming down, so at that point some viscous gases, fumes, so all those things will be released. So they will deposit in the form of cone. Okay, so there will not be so much fluid to flow down. Then effusive volcanism. So this refers to abundant outpouring of basaltic lava. So much of lava will come out from a fissure. Okay, so example Deccan Traps. So Deccan Traps are also called as large igneous provinces or the lips. So there will be fissures, cracks, and then the lava comes out. So like this it goes on. Then come to next. So explosive volcanoes. So these are the violent ejections of solid material. This results in fragmentation and ejection of solid materials through vents. Volcanic eject that settles out of air or water is called pyroclastic sediments. So pieces of rocks will be exploded. So that is the explosive volcanism. And then subaqueous volcanism. So here as the name suggests, it is subaqueous or below the water. So this type of volcanic activity takes place below the surface of water. When lava is in contact with water, it consolidates to produce a structure like that of a heap of pillows. So here we can see how like the heap of pillows, the lava has been solidified below the water surface. So these are some of the ones. And then come to next, important lakes of India. So again a map work. Friends, a brief strategy on the map work, how to do the map works. So we will start with the mountains first. So take Google Maps and Atlas, do all the mountains and take all the rivers and do it, and then take all the gulfs, bays and seas, etc. and then important nations and cities which are in news, and also go through the current affairs and see in depth the area around Ukraine, area around Afghanistan, area around Israel, Palestine. So likewise, if you do that, minimum 3 questions you can attempt from the map work. So here I have brought some of the lakes. So it is like the largest freshwater lake in India, that is the Wular Lake, I have taken up. So here we can see the Wular Lake. So Wular Lake that lies on the river Jhelum. So Jhelum flows like this and Jhelum continues further. So very behind the Ular Lake in the same river Jhelum, Dal Lake is also present. We can locate Dal Lake here. And very next to Dal Lake, here we have Dachigam National Park. So Dachigam National Park is also famous for the Kashmir stag. So all these things we can revise here. So this is all about the Ular Lake, the largest freshwater lake in India. And then the largest saline water lake in India, that is the Chilika Lake. So Chilika Lake is a lagoon. So here we can see the Chilika Lake. And very next to it, the Mahanadi River flows. Okay, and Bhubaneswar we can locate here. And here we have the Kalikote Forest Guards. And then here Dasapala Elephant Reserve, Satkosia we can locate here. And then Tikarpada. So here for us, Satkosia is more important than any others. And also remember Mahanadi rivers. Okay, so likewise if you have the Google Maps, screenshot and save. So but obvious it will be very much helpful for you. And then the highest lake in India with the altitude, that is Cholamu Lake. So this is in Sikkim. So no lakes of Kashmir, Leh, Ladakh are in the highest. So this is in the highest. So we mark this as important. And here we have this Cholamo Lake. And very next to it we have the Kanchenjunga. So Kanchenjunga will be somewhere here. Okay, and very next to that, so there are various the wildlife sanctuaries in Bhutan also very much associated, and very next to the border of India with Bhutan and China, Tibet. So that goes here. So remember these ones. Then come to next, the longest lake in India, that is the Vembanad Lake in Kerala. So here is the Vembanad Lake located, and very next to it we have the Idukki Wildlife Sanctuary and the Periyar National Park. And with the Periyar National Park we can also locate the Periyar River, and then Ranni Forest Divisions. So all those things, and these lie in the Kerala Tamil Nadu border. So the border goes here. So these are some of the ones. Then the largest artificial lake in India, that is the Gobind Vallabh Sagar or the GB Pant Sagar. So that is also called as the Rihand Dam. So but obvious it lies on the Rihand River. So here we have the GB Pant Sagar. GB Pant, he was the former Home Minister of India, I guess. So in his name it was being built. So Rihand River, it goes and connects to the Sone River, and in this Sone River, so we also have this North Koyal River. Okay, so here we have the Daltonganj Hill Forests. So if possible, remember these. At least remember the GB Pant Sagar, Rihand and Koyal River, which are tributaries of Sone River or Son River. Then come to next, the glacial landforms. So some of the erosional landforms. So we have the glacial meltdowns that are going on frequently. So in that context, all these become important. So here we can see the aerate. So aerate means, so two glaciers, they have carved and they have left one edged ridge like thing here. And then the horn. So 3 to 4 glaciers, they have flown on the 4 different sides, and then they have left one sharp edge, that is a horn. Okay, and then apart from that we have a hanging valley here. So there will be a big glacier, and these small glaciers, they come and dump the water. So these, they don't have any connection to the ground, that is why they are called hanging valley. Okay, and then whenever a glacier starts and moves down, so here it forms a small lake called the Tarn Lake. Okay, so we remember those Tarn lakes also. And then some Tarn lakes, so they will be large enough, so they form chair like structures like this. So here we can see someone can sit here. Okay, so this is called a cirque. Okay, so and the valley which is having the largest glacier is the glacial trough. So here remember aerate, horn, Tarn lake. Okay, and then the cirques, then glacial troughs, hanging valleys, etc. So whichever are present in NCERTs, only those we will discuss. So but obvious we don't go in depth because already questions are not coming from here at the same time. So we need not go with the optional related knowledges. Then the depositional landforms of glaciers. So here we have the outwash plains. So outwash plains means once the glacier comes out and enters the plain, so it starts depositing the silts here. So here we can see the figure of a plain, and whenever it flows through a narrow region, so it forms a fan like thing like this. Okay, so this is a glacial fan, and that is also called the outwash fan. So it is an outwash, but also it is in the form of the round figure, that is why it is called outwash fan. Then come to next, esker. So what are eskers? They are the winding ridge of unassorted depositions running along a glacier in a till plane. Say for example, whenever a glacier deposit came here, so they stopped here and this formed a small hump, and again whenever the glaciers deposited, so this accumulated in this area and this formed a ridge like structure, and this ridge is discontinuous, it is not continuous, and those ridges are called eskers. Okay, so whenever the slope stops, so eskers are being formed. And then we have the kettle holes. So whenever these glaciers they deposit the sediments, and these sediments, so they will solidify like this, and sometimes they form the depressions. Okay, so this is how the kettle holes are being formed. So with the help of pictures we can remember, and this is the sediment which is almost solidified, and here we have the kettle holes. Then coming to next, drumlins. Say for example, if a glacier is coming like this and if a stone is present here, so but obvious, so the deposition happens like this, and here we get a small hump. So these are the single solitary humps, so they are formed due to a stone obstructing the deposition. So that is how the drumlins are formed. Okay, then come to next, moraines. Moraines means basically the silts, friends. So here we have lateral moraines. So these lateral moraines are deposited in the sides, and we have the bottom moraines, and we have the dead point moraines, like whenever a glacier enters the plain, so in that point also the moraines will be deposited. So moraines can be anything, but they are a very generalistic terms. Okay, so these are some of the depositional features. And then come to next, important mountain ranges. Friends, here also we take up the mountain ranges of all continents and revise. So Afghanistan is in news, so that's why it becomes important, and Afghanistan is a knot here. Okay, so with this knot various mountain ranges will flow. So here we can see Hindu Kush mountain that is going on here, and here the Zagros and Elbros. So these mountain ranges, the Zagros and Elbros, they flow here, and here we have the Caucasus, and very nearer to it we have the Golan Heights also. So Golan Heights, so that is very much nearer to the Israel and Palestine, and Golan Heights was once asked by UPSC. And then here near Russia we have Urals. Okay, and then coming back to this Pamir knot, so Pamir flows here, then Tian Shan or the Tian Shan, so that will flow here, and Altai Mounts will flow here, and then Kunlu or the Kunlu range. Okay, and then we have the Tibet, and then Himalayas. Okay, and here we have the Suleiman and Kartar ranges. Okay, so we will make sure that we will revise all these: the Hindu Kush, then Pamir, Tian Shan, Altai, then Kunlu, Tibet, Himalayan, and Suleiman and Kirtar. So Afghanistan is in use, so this will be important. And then come to next, important mountain ranges in Europe. Okay, so here we have the Alps. Alps will be more important, and the Italian plateau will also be important in the Italian peninsula. And then here we have the Pyrenees. Okay, and here we have the Pyrenees, and then we have the Scandinavia. Okay, and here we have the Carpathian Mounts and the Balkan Peninsula and the Caucasus Mounts and the Ural Mounts. Okay, so some of these, if possible, we remember. Okay, so Balkan, it lies in the Balkan states, Italian lies in the Italians, Pyrenees and Pennines. So but obvious we can remember, so they are in the westmost Europe. Scandinavia, with Scandinavia, Ural anyway we discussed. And then coming to North America, so here two important mountain ranges, Rocky Mountains and Appalachian Mountains. So these two bordering the US, so we can remember. Then South America, the Andes Mountains and Brazilian Highlands. So these are some plateau like thing. Okay, and here we have the Cordilleras. We know that this Cordillera that extends throughout the western borders of North America also. So that will go through Latin America and Central America also. Then come to next, evidence in support of continental drifts. So these are present in NCERTs. So we will have a revision because questions haven't come and we can't say whether they come or not. So as and when we discuss that chapter, so it is important to revise them and go on. So here the rocks of same age across the oceans. Okay, so that is a belt of ancient rocks of Brazil coast matches with those from Western Africa. So the Brazils and Western African rocks, so they are of same. And then tillite, So here the Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterparts in Falkland Islands, Madagascar, Antarctica and Australia. So by that we can say that Falkland, Madagascar, Antarctica, Australia and India, so they were interconnected during Gondwana times, because we have here the glacial tills or the sediments of the glaciers, and then we have the jigs of it. So we know that the Atlantic Ocean and the two basins of Atlantic Ocean, so if there was no Atlantic, they appear that they might have converged, or it appears that so they might have been separated, okay, long back. Okay, so jigs of it, but obvious, a simple concept. Then placer deposits, the placer deposits of gold in Ghana and the gold bearing veins in Brazil. So Ghana and Brazil, so they have been interrelated with these placer deposits or the deposits of gold. And then the distribution of fossils, that is the lemurs. Lemurs are a kind of wildlife and they occurred in India, Madagascar and Africa. So thereby there existed a subcontinent called Lemuria where lemurs existed. So these are some of the evidences. So probably you can get a question like which of the following are evidence for the continental drifts. So here we make sure that the Lemuria, then the placer deposits, so all those we remember and we will opt the correct option. And then the geosynclines. So what is geosynclines, friends? So instead of going through all these descriptions, we just mention that the Tethys Sea as one example. So with that we will get cleared the whole concept. So Tethys Sea means it was a small depression formed, okay, and in that depression, okay, it was actually a sea, but around that sea the deposition happened, and due to excess of deposition the sea got closed and only the sand remained, and that sand is now acting as a plain. Okay, so the same way the geosyncline. So we have anticlines and synclines in the plate tectonics. So synclines means a dip, okay, and anticlines means a hump. Okay, so whenever a dip is formed by the geomorphic processes and here the sand will be filled, so they are called geosynclines. And apart from Tethys Sea, we have the Appalachian geosynclines and then the Caledonian geosynclines near Great Britain. So we will mark this and we will revise. So these are the geosynclines, nothing but the synclines formed by the geomorphic processes. So synclines can be formed by other processes also, but the geosynclines are from the geomorphic processes. Then isostacy. Isostacy means it is a balance. Say for example in this figure, this part of wood is floating on water because a sufficient amount of wood has already been drowned. So now the limit has exceeded and no more drowning. So there is floating of this part. Okay, so the same way whenever a mountain stands or whenever a stone stands on the earth's surface, so it is like a sufficient matter has been drowned into the crust. Okay, so that is why it is being floating. So this balance between top and bottom, so this is nothing but the isostacy. Okay, so here it is like always the theory says that the less dense material of the earth's surface, that is Sial, that should float over the denser magma of Sima. So when that floats, so but obvious we can see mountain that are standing upon the Sima. So Sials, they are standing on Sima. So that is how the buoyancy is explained in the form of isostacy. So geological form of buoyancy is nothing but isostacy. Then come to next, the propagation of tsunami waves. So here we know that whenever we are in the deep ocean, we don't get the tsunami waves because tsunami waves are the ones which have the long wavelengths. So if we have a tsunami of this long wavelength, so a small boat that is present here, so that will not feel the tsunami wave. So it only feels that there is a long hump below and it flows away. But as and when these tsunamis they reach the shore, so actually whenever the waves come, there will be a belt of water like this here. So this belt of water will be rotating, that is why the tsunami propagates. And now whenever it enters the shore, so this belt will be cut off. Okay, so this belt of moving water will be cut off by the shores, and now this water, so that will rise up and that will slap on the shores. That is why the waves will hike its height and then they will flap the shores. So here we can see how they are hiking. So the height will be more only on the shores because the belt that is below, so that have been broken. So for example, if I say the belt is here, by the time it came here the belt broke and now the height started increasing, and at the extreme end, so the highest wave that flapped, or it might be slapping the shore. Okay, so this is how the tsunami propagates. And then paleomagnetism. So it is like, paleomagnetism is simply the study of the record of Earth's magnetic field, and we know that this Earth magnetic field, so they have been reversing. Say for example, from north to south, sometimes they have become south north also. So how we will get to know that it is being reversing? So with the help of the magma deposition. Say for example, here we have the magma being deposited against fissure. So in both the sides of the fissures, so we can see the magma being deposited, and here similar kinds of magmas will be deposited alternatively. So like this. So it shows that, say for example, anionic deposition at once and then cationic deposition the next. So the alternative stations of cations and anions, so they show that sometimes it might be the north pole here and sometimes it might be the south pole of magnetic field here. So likewise, we can get to know that Earth's magnetic field, so that is reversing its poles often. So the paleomagnetism is nothing but the study of such reversal or any such uniqueness. Then come to next, the island arc formation. So this is also a simple concept. So friends, here consider this, and here we can see the oceanic crust. So that is in the subduction process. So that is subducting into the plate, the lithospheric plate. And here in the place of subduction, so the lava is being oozing out. So due to disturbance of subduction, the lava is oozing out, and here that lava is causing the formation of an arc. Okay, so this arc will be having the land or the sediments at one part, and it will be having a trench in the other part. Okay, so a island arc is formed only when the subduction occurs, and when the subduction occurs, so it is like on one side it will be having sediments because it is all lithosphere this side, and at the other side it is having the trenches because the subduction is going on this side. Okay, so these stations, that is sediments, arcs and then trenches, so these are formed only due to the subduction zones. So this we remember. You can get a question like, the island arcs are formed due to which of the following? They are formed due to subduction of oceanic crust to the continental crust. So this much if you understand, it is enough. Then the rocks, igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. So firstly speaking, the igneous rocks, so we know that they are formed due to solidification of lava. So granites, gabbro, basalt, so all these are igneous rocks. So igneous rocks, so when we see them, we get to know that yes, they have been solidified. And then some of the sedimentary rocks, so by seeing them, we will get to know that yes, they are being formed by the sedimentation. So silt has come and they have been pressed and they have been formed. So here we can see the sandstones. So sandstones and then geyserite. So here we can see the geyserites. So in the geyser, whenever the solid or the mud mixed water comes out and that will get dried, so the rocks are formed in this way. Okay, so but obvious they are also sediments, but those are the solid mixed with the liquid water. Okay, the mud mixed with the water. And then the limestone, but obvious limestones, potassious. So here we can see potassious, various layers. So they have been sedimented and formed. So these are the sedimentary rocks. And then we have the metamorphic rocks. So once the sedimentary rocks come or the igneous rocks comes, they undergo various pressures due to biology, chemistry, etc. and they form the metamorphic rocks. Say for example, the gneissoids, slate, schist, marbles, quartzites. So all these are the metamorphic rocks. Say for example, limestone. So limestone, if it solidifies or if it undergoes pressure, so it becomes a marble. Okay, so likewise, due to compression, these metamorphic rocks are being formed. So granite is an igneous rock, and whenever it undergoes the erosion and other biological chemical activity, it becomes a gneisoid or it becomes a gneiss. So likewise, so various metamorphic rocks can be formed both by the sedimentary as well as igneous rocks. It need not be only by the sedimentary. So these are some of the rocks. Then coming to last, the tectonics. So here plate tectonic means we have the fault, then the fold and also the upthrust and the downthrust. So fold means nothing but the folding occurs this way. So here we have the formation of anticlines, synclines, the fold mountains and others. So fault lines means a jerk. So here we can see the jerk downwards and here we can see the jerk upwards. So this is called the reverse fault. And here we can see the oblique fault, and here we can see the shear fault. So shear means sideways they are going. Okay. So with these we also have the upthrust and the down thrust. So here we can see the down thrust going on. So this chunk is going down. Okay, because there might be the force in the opposite direction in these two land masses. Okay, so these natural pictures, so they help you a lot in understanding the concepts. So try to understand as much and try to remember as many. And in the last, friends, there goes a concept saying that whatever you won't do, so whatever work you shirk off, so those work will give you the greatest opportunities. Say for example, you are not willing to take the tests because you are fearing with the examination environment. So but obvious, the exams are the ones which will feed you maximum experience. Those are the ones will feed you maximum knowledge. Okay, so those are the ones which tell you that these are the areas where your weaknesses are, and these are the areas where you are doing the silly mistakes. So whichever work you are fearing to do, so gather the strength, gather the courage, and do it again and again. So do it again and again so that becomes a second nature. Do it again and again so that test or prelims or mains, they become a second nature to you. So do it. All the very best from my side. Good luck, friends.